Thank you, DT. As mentioned before, tonight is a celebration. We are celebrating the amazing institution that is Cabrini University and the incredible people it teaches and grows. We are also recognizing the many ways in which alumni and friends breathe life into the mission of Cabrini. We have so many alumni and friends who are dedicated to ensuring the success of Cabrini and its students through various efforts, including, but certainly not limited to, serving as a trustee, an alumni board director, a classroom speaker, a panelist at Career Night, an event volunteer, an advocate of Cabrini to prospective students, and the list goes on. Not to mention that most, if not all of you here tonight are generous donors of Cabrini. That's for you, Steve. You're welcome. I'd like to take a brief pause to thank my fellow alumni board directors who are here this evening. Like all of you here tonight who volunteered your time to Cabrini, the alumni board is enthusiastic about working to continue a great legacy for our alma mater. I'd like to ask all our alumni board members who are here tonight to please stand and be recognized. The Alumni Association is deeply grateful to each and every one of you here tonight, and we hope to continue celebrating our dedicated Cavaliers each year at what we hope will be an annual event. Now on to the Alumni Awards presentations. For decades, the Alumni Association has honored the outstanding achievements and good works of our alumni through these awards. This year is no exception. I'm honored to be able to represent the Alumni Association as president as I introduce our awardees this evening. I'd like to begin with our first award, the Young Alumni Award, which recognizes alumni who have graduated within the last 10 years and have continued the Cabrini legacy of service, made outstanding contributions to their communities, or achieved great career success. This year's recipient is Diana Trisati, class of 2010. While a student at Cabrini, Diana studied English and Communication and Psychology. As a member of the locator staff, Diana became more aware of the world around her through the story assignments that introduced her to various global social injustices. She experienced service learning through spring break service trips and even lobbied in Congress. After graduation, Diana continued her education at the University of Pennsylvania, where she received her Master's of Science in Education in School and Mental Health Counseling, and her Master's of Philosophy in Education and Professional Counseling. Good job. She currently works full-time as an elementary school counselor in Southern New Jersey, where she coaches a track club and will be launching a social justice club for students this spring. She also works as a master-level mental health at Jefferson Hospital, where she conducts psychosocial assessments and runs group therapy in the intensive outpatient program. In addition to her work, Diana commits much of her free time volunteering to serve as the state communication lead and national communication trainer for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to the ending of gun violence epidemic in America. In these roles, Diana writes media advisories, delivers national spokesperson trainings, organizes community gun violence prevention events, and guides volunteers in writing to local newspapers and elected officials in support of comprehensive solutions to gun violence. Diana's dedication to enriching the lives of those around her through both her professional career and volunteer work is inspiring. I'd like to welcome Diana to come forward and be recognized as the 2019 recipient of the Young Alumni Award.
When I first came to Cabrini University in 2006, I was an average student and never wanted to spend more time than necessary in a classroom or after-school activity. My focus was constricted to my own safe corner of South Jersey. Speaking in class and to others was difficult and something I had to challenge myself to do. It wasn't until my sophomore journalism class that I realized the power of my voice. Before I knew it, I was covering stories on homelessness, developing a short film on the Iraqi Trauma Relief Project, and helping build a website on domestic violence awareness. At Cabrini, my classmates and I weren't just taught to live with purpose, but we were provided with real-life experiences to do so. From helping build a house in Appalachia, to meeting my senator staff in Washington, D.C. to advocate for a global food security bill. I learned the power we all have to build a more just society through individual relationships and legislative change. I'm confident that it was these experiences and continued guidance from my professors, especially Dr. Zurich, that led me to pursue a career and volunteer work rooted in serving others. This work is stimulating, tiring, humbling, and never complete. It's not a college course, but a way of life. Because of Cabrini, I had the confidence as an adult to testify in front of a New Jersey Senate committee. I had the skills to organize a community pop-up meeting with only a few days' notice. And I had the stamina to march with millions of other advocates in rallies from New York to DC. Cabrini led me to finding my passion and my voice, and for that I will always be thankful. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Diana. Up next is the Martha Dale Award for Distinguished Service, named after the late Martha Dale, a beloved former director of alumni at Cabrini for over 30 years. This award is given to an alum who has demonstrated long-standing loyalty, dedication, and interest in Cabrini and after graduation. This year's recipient is Lisa Nolan, class of 1987. Lisa's life after Cabrini has been the epitome of what it means to live with purpose and in the spirit of the Cabrini Chrism. The summer after she graduated, as part of the Cabrini Project Outreach, which later became known as the Cabrini Mission Corps, she lived in Africa. There she worked with the MSCs at St. Philip's Mission, where she taught math and English and also served as a youth minister. After this summer, Lisa's path led her to many meaningful experiences. She went on to receive a Master's of Art in Counseling Psychology from Georgian Court College. She has worked in various fields of education, cross-cultural teachings, counseling, and has also managed programs for different international faith-based organizations. In particular, in the early 90s, she worked alongside Sister Lucille Souza as the co-director of the Cabrini Mission Corps. Teaching, however, is what Lisa believes is her true calling. She has taught across the world on Navarro Reservation in Arizona, in the British system of education in Tanzania, and in various school districts in the Mid-Atlantic region. Currently, she serves as a math teacher at Jack M. Barak Hebrew Academy in Bryn Mawr. She has shared her experience and knowledge on various boards and committees throughout the years, including the Jesuit Volunteer International, Friends Across Borders, and Missionaries of Mary Noel. Lisa's loyalty and dedication and interest in the Cabrini mission to educate the heart and better the lives of those around her makes her truly deserving of this honor. I'd like to welcome Lisa to come forward and be recognized as the 2019 recipient of the Martha Dale Award for Distinguished Service.
Thank you very much. It has really been an honor and a privilege to be here and to rekindle lots of friendships and relive stories with all of you this evening. I am really honored and humbled to accept this award. I knew Martha Dale. I also have the gift of tears, so once I say it, then I'm really better. but I was really happy to see that there's a tissue box underneath, so I feel like it was put there special for me. I knew Martha Dale, and always she was very inspiring in terms of her life, so receiving her award means a lot to me. Service and faith have always been part of my life. They're really part of who I am. My days at Cabrini College tapped into those aspects of my life, and the vision of mission and of Cabrini prepared me and pulled me forward and filled my life's journey with a lot of meaning and with joy. As I accept this award tonight, I also want to recognize some very special people in my life. Dr. Ruth Sauer, who is here as part of my family today. She was a professor in college when I was here in the education department, and she inspired me to teach and to live a life committed to constantly learning new things. It was always about what is next. It was with her that I did my student teaching on the Navajo Reservation in Tuba City when I was a junior. She's strong yet gentle, loving but firm, and she's always ready for a new adventure. We stayed in touch for years, and she even traveled to Tanzania to visit us when we were living with Marianol in East Africa. So it is a pleasure to have you with me tonight. Also tonight is Sister Lucille Souza. Lucille and I were co-directors for Cabrini Mission Corps. And CMC was all about inviting and accompanying and challenging other Cabrini-minded, hearted people to give of themselves and to make a difference in our world. Lucille's faith, her ability to see things with gratitude and the desire to serve has blessed and inspired me. Her prayerful and active lifestyle of acceptance and gratitude for all gives me a lot of energy and joy in my own life. And finally, I recognize my husband, Dan. He's also here with me tonight. Together we have journeyed through a life of faith and service, living out our vocation of marriage and also our vocation of parenthood. We have challenged each other, inspired each other, fought and forgave each other, and most importantly, we have loved each other. Our three children, Grace, Ann, and Joseph, are not able to be here with us this evening as they're having adventures of their own, but I carry them with me wherever I go. As it was said, teaching is truly my vocation. Ever since I was little, I wanted to be a teacher, and part of that is I love learning, and I just want to share that ability to kind of see things in a new perspective and to learn with others. Whether I'm teaching where I currently am at now at the Jack Barrack Hebrew Academy, or whether it was in a public school in Maryland, or in a village school in Swaziland, or Tanzania, or with the Navajos on the Navajo Reservation, I really want to bring out the best in people. I want to bring out the best in my students and to all the people who I am privileged really to have in the classroom. Cabrini has motivated me to do this because it has inspired me to learn. Every day is a new adventure, and every day is an adventure to learn something new and really to make a difference and together to do something amazing. Cabrini's influence on education of the heart has inspired me to live life with a purpose. So when I accept this reward, I feel like I bring everybody who really has blessed my life with me in terms of receiving this award. A commitment to academic excellence, developing leadership skills with those with whom I live and work, and being committed to make our world a socially just world is what Cabrini has always challenged me to do, and what Cabrini has challenged me, Cabrini has challenged me to become. The only constant that we ever have in life is change, and I know that Cabrini College University has changed a lot over the years, but I believe that at its core, its vision and its mission stays strong. I am honored to be part of the circle of alumni who are spreading this word and making a difference in our world. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Achievement Award, which recognized the exemplary achievements of alumni whose career success embodies Cabrini's mission of leadership development and commitment to social justice and academic excellence. This year's recipient is Joe Holden, class of 2002. Some of you may know or recognize Joe. He's pretty famous around these parts. Joe is the anchor of the weekend evening editions of Eyewitness News on CBS 3 and the CW Philly. But before Joe became a local celebrity, he was perhaps, like many others in this room tonight, a Delco kid. Me too. Yes. Joe attended St. Lawrence in Upper Darby and Monsignor Bonner High School in Drexel Hill. He spent his teenage years as a choir director and organist at St. Donato's in Overbrook, and later the director of music at St. Charles Borromeo in Drexel Hill. Joe's love of music helped pay his way through college. During his Cabrini days, he could be found in the Cabrini newsroom in the comm wing, where he was the editor-in-chief of the Loquitur. Dr. Jerry Zirk, communication professor and former chair of the department, is still in touch with Joe 16 years later. He follows him closely in the news and on social media. In a recent Facebook post, Joe candidly spoke about the fact that he didn't get into local news for the glamour, but rather to help people. Dr. Zirk responded to the comment, "Thank you, Joe, to you and other dedicated journalists who every day provide the information our democracy needs." Zirk noted that even as a college reporter and Loquitur editor, Joe was incredibly dedicated to give an accurate picture of the Cabrini community as editor-in-chief. Over the years, Joe has returned to Cabrini to mentor students and speak in class. When he meets Cabrini students on or off campus, he gives them both journalism tips as well as life coaching. His work provides a great example of the high calling and responsibility journalists are called to do. His impressive career in the news industry includes his previous roles as the weekend evening anchor at WPXI in Pittsburgh, where he covered, among other high-profile stories, Pope Francis's visit to Philadelphia. He was also an investigative reporter in Scranton and Virginia, and an assignment editor in Philadelphia. Joe has a track record of holding public officials accountable and breaking numerous stories involving political corruption and environmental issues, including stories connected to the reputed Kids for Cash scandal in, I apologize if I get this wrong, Luzerne County, and how public boards handle the rise of Marcellus shale industry in Susquehanna and Bradford counties. His work exposed the existence of a cancer cluster in Schuylkill County as well. He has twice been nominated for an Emmy. Today, Joe's exciting career has allowed him to come home, where he and his wife Kelly live in Newtown Square with their 3 children. Cabrini is proud to not only share the outstanding achievements of a successful alum like Joe, but also to recognize him with this deserving accolade. And for me, he's also a friend. Joe, please come forward and recognize as the 2019 recipient of the Distinguished Achievement Award. I know.
Thank you. I'll put it up there. And it'll break. Grocery list paper. The danger of putting a microphone in front of a reporter is you never know when it's going to end. At CBS 3, like WPXI TV in Pittsburgh, and like WBRE TV in Wilkes-Barre, and NBC 29 in Charlottesville, the assignment desk gets a lot of interesting phone calls. That is the nerve center of our newsroom. It is where things tick. There is the guy that calls every night, asking us for a repeat of the lottery numbers. Finally, a good friend of mine asked, "So have you ever won?" "No, I don't play." So about 6 months ago, a woman by the name of Bernice Vagoda called the assignment desk. I could tell the assignment editor at the time was struggling with the call. She put the call on hold and pretty much flabbergasted, "Can somebody help me with this lady? I don't know what she needs." So I'm a sucker for a good story. I said, 5420 transfer. Ms. Vagoda is from Glenside, from what I gather. She's 91 years old. She had a Whirlpool washing machine in the basement that just would not stop rusting. She's had repair calls for the Whirlpool washing machine many times over. She just can't understand. She's had Whirlpool her whole life in that Glenside house. And well, suddenly this model is rusting on the inside. And I'm on the phone with her thinking, rust on the inside, 91, and you've never had this problem before. Okay, so immediately my wheels in my mind start turning. She is fluid with details. She has lots of details. I said, "Miss Vagoda, please know that I would like to help you. It's just rust on the inside of your washing machine. Help me out." Well, she bought one of those insurance policies. Those insurance policies that guarantee you that whatever it is you have, sewer line, water line, electric line, they will cover. And as a reporter, I can tell you that that is a 50-50 thing. So Miss Vagoda gives me the information. And I, in turn, shoot off an email to Whirlpool. And I fire off an email to the insurance company. Miss Vagoda perhaps paid a couple $100s for that insurance policy that meant the world to her. They weren't doing well by her. And an email that I sent at 10:30 in the morning from my desk that would never become a story, this lady gets her couple $100 back. That is why I got into what it is I do. Miss Vagoda will never see a camera at her house. We won't have B-roll, as we say in the news business, of a washing machine with a rusty inside. However, I carry her closely to me because that is exactly the motivation behind what I do every day. I think that I could classify as a forever viewer. And mission accomplished. That ties into a larger framework as I look out and I see Dr. Jerry Zorick, Jay-Z, Dr. Adeline Bethany, our choral director, cracking the whip many nights. Dr. Marilyn Johnson. I shot an email to Dr. Johnson a few years or months ago. The time is fleeting. About Perrine's short stories and how I still enjoyed walking down memories lane and reading a few stories about, was it A Christmas Story, as it was called. Wonderful literature. In the Cabrini mission, you have not only the intersection of education of the heart, but for me it was an upbringing gifted with compassion, taught compassion and generosity. And I'd like to remark about my parents for instilling those gifts on me, that we were fortunate enough. My two younger brothers, one who is also a Cabrini graduate and perhaps building missiles for Lockheed Martin in San Jose, business major. But that is the gift, and that is the gift that started very early on in childhood, and that Cabrini College, now Cabrini University, reinforced in my life. The fork in my road was one morning in senior year of high school at Bonner, and it was a trip to Temple, and then on to this woodsy college out in Radnor somewhere, and my friend's dad was doing all of the driving, so I was just along for the ride. And then I got into the driver's seat at Cabrini. I chose Cabrini over Temple. My father's eyes rolled slightly with the tuition differential. And yet here I am, and I am honored to receive this very distinguished award, and I thank you very much for all that you do to support and uphold the ideals and the values of this wonderful institution. Thank you.
We now have our final alumni award of the program. Following this award, Dr. Taylor will come up to introduce the parent award. Next, I'd like to present the Honorary Alumni Award, recognizing a non-alum for his or her exemplary service to Cabrini University. This year's recipient is Professor Emerita Carol Heck Sirota. Professor Emerita doesn't even begin to cover all the titles and hats that Carol has worn since her arrival in January of 1977 as an adjunct math professor. She eventually was hired as full-time faculty with a split designation of math and computer science. As Cabrini expanded its computer science department, she became a full-time math professor and department chair from 1995 to 2003. For those of you who knew Carol, which is probably everyone here tonight, as well as every alum to have graduated within the last 4 decades, knows how dedicated Carol is to the Cabrini and, most of all, its students. Her work expanded far beyond the classroom walls as she volunteered her time to countless committees, to name just a few, because naming them all would keep us here all night. Carol served on committees for faculty development, academic grievance, and master planning. She has also acted as an advisor of the Math and Science Honor Society and created and managed the original Math Technology Lab. But one of her most favorite roles she has played at Cabrini is the judge for the Mr. and Miss Cabrini pageant. She has been a judge every year except one over the last 15. She has been recognized in various Who's Who's publications and is a recipient of the Lindback Distinguished Teaching Award. While Carol retired 4 years ago, she is still a regular on campus as a tutor in the Math Research Center and chairs the monthly retirees lunch meetings. I've actually seen a picture of that on Facebook. I'm really impressed. Students, alumni, faculty, and staff unanimously love Carol. Bob McGee, former Cabrini Math Department Chair, who could not be here tonight, hired Carol. He saw firsthand the impact she had on the student body. He said, "Going into the cafeteria with Carol was an adventure. We would go in together, but I would be eating dessert before she sat down because she was always interacting with students. Her support of their activities, whether plays, sporting events, or whatever event that someone invited her to, was legendary. At the heart of Cabrini, and what makes it so special, is our faculty. Without a doubt, Carol symbolizes what a fiercely dedicated faculty member, even in retirement, looks like at Cabrini. It's the Alumni Association's great pleasure to please invite Carol to come forward to receive the 2019 Honorary Alumni Award.
That's good.
Right there.
That's right, good. And then I could read it from the back. I'll be the first one to fall over and think it's been here all night. Because I always find a new adventure to explore. I'd like to say that everything he said was true. So I probably have nothing else to say to add to that, but that was wonderful. Thank you so much. And I have to say, I have a different perspective than the last few people who spoke, because all of them were under me at one point. Many of them were students in my classroom, and they all were super. And I only say it because they paid me nicely before, but mostly because it's true. Now, if only I could see what I have written here. I, too, have the tear ducts that I bequeath to Lisa. Well, thank you again so much for this tremendously terrific honor. I said again, notice? I thought I would begin my remarks with my end statement. Beginning at the beginning is so ordinary, but now that I am a Cabrini University alum, I felt that I must do something extraordinary. I don't know if starting at the end is extraordinary, but it is different. So I will begin again. First, let me say, I love Cabrini. Since I believe most of you here also love Cabrini, I can conclude that you must love me too. Okay, don't buy it. I mean, the logic behind that means that they have to rehire me immediately to teach more logic courses and more mathematics. Because I love Cabrini and you love Cabrini does not legally mean that you have to love me. You might not even know me, but I hope you will love me by the end of my speech. If for no other reason than I get to the end. I hope you were able to see a bit of the humor that I tried to put into the introduction. This was my modus operandi for teaching mathematics, to make students enjoy mathematics while learning mathematics in an intellectually honest way. How can I express my gratitude to this university for giving me the honor, the opportunity to do what I love most with students that were so easy to love? I used to have a sign above my office door that said, "Through these doors walk some of the best students anywhere." And so it was. I began my days here on a snowy day in January. Surprise. Schools were closed everywhere, but I would not dare miss my first day at Cabrini College. I never went to a college that closed its doors for us now. Whatever. Since their schools were closed, I arrived at Cabrini with my 4- and 6-year-old in tow. I arrived about 2.5 hours late, as it took me over 3 hours to get here. Surely I had missed my class, but I wanted to guarantee the school that I was not a slacker. When I finally arrived to the campus, the math department chair, Bob McGee, was there to greet me and inform me that the school was indeed closed. And that we were probably the only 2 non-residents on the campus that day. Bob and I were doctoral students together at Penn. There's a lot more to that story, and I could keep you busy for hours with just that story. But from that humble, and in hindsight, humorous beginning, I began my tenure at the best little college north of Texas. Bob and I ruled the mathematics department for some 30 years, each of us holding the reins at some point, but always together with whatever phrase is the opposite of ruling with an iron hand. I dare say we had one of the most respected math departments in the area, as the number of non-Cabrini students who enrolled in our classes was rather impressive. But I digress, which is me. Everybody knows. You know, you learned about tangents in math class. Good, going off on one, right? Everybody has to do what they're good at. And you got to practice, so I'll practice again. From the first day I came here with 2 of my children, family not complete yet, we realized that we had entered perhaps the biggest and certainly the best family ever. I had the opportunity to watch Cabrini, who graduated fewer than 100 students a year, grow into the university that it is today. My children, all of them, were all part of this family and grew up knowing so many of my colleagues, all of whom were mentioned here, they knew them, and their families also. Even as I retired with tears, which many that are here will attest to, I never wanted to relinquish the joy and love that abounded for me right here in Radnor. We all grew up, as did the campus. When I arrived here, there was 1 classroom building, 1 dorm, a mansion, and a converted stable among the glorious trees and the still beautiful ambience of this site. I can't say enough to thank all of you and those who came before you for giving me the title of the masochist. And the opportunity to know all those students who still mean so much to me. I walk in here tonight, it's students I haven't seen in years. It's like old times. All these students who crop up everywhere, from a cruise ship in Australia to a third grade class in Radnor, to countless venues I could never begin to describe. Forget about walking to the mall. I was always thrilled when I was able to celebrate so many athletic victories with our students, to participate in theater performances, to being a judge in so many wonderful and diverse activities, including the Mr. and Ms. Cabrini pageant. Cabrini gave me the opportunity to be a chaperone, a tour guide, and a scholar. It gave me the opportunity to be a surrogate parent, a person who has been cried upon and hugged countless times. I always made it a point to stop and smell the roses when I came onto campus. A wise man once said, and I have modified this a bit, because I'm a woman. That gives me the right to modify things, right? If you get paid for doing something, it is work. If you pay to do something, that is pleasure. And if you do it for nothing, it's really a great pleasure. I continue to get great pleasure every time I walk on this campus, whether it is to tutor in the Math Resource Center, attend an event, or to have lunch with someone from my Cabrini family. I'd like to put it into a little anecdotal form. My friend Ruby Remley, who has been here almost from the start with me, has been telling this joke recently, and I thought I'd share it with you. So you see, there's these three animals, 2 dogs and a cat, and they're going up to heaven. So the gatekeeper says to the first dog, a beautiful little collie, says, "Collie, what kind of a dog were you? Tell me about yourself." So the collie stands up straight, says, "I was a wonderful dog. My family loved me. I was with them all the time. I never did anything bad. Anything they wanted, I did, and I was always well loved, and I loved them." "Very good, collie. You may sit on my left side." "And you, Doberman, what did you do?" "Oh, I protected my family. I was a great dog. I never ate off the table. I never did any of those things. I was wonderful." "Very good, dog. You may sit on my right side." And the cat jumps up and says, "Excuse me, I think you're in my seat." What does that have to do with being a Cabrini? Well, they were trying to get into heaven, but I have been here for a long time, in my own little heaven right here in Radnor. And I would take any of the 3 seats anybody offered me to come back here at any time. I can't thank you enough for giving me an award for doing what I love most. Thank you so much.
But before I present the Parent Award, just a quick thing about Carol. I don't think it'd be quick, but about Carol. So I think next month I celebrate my 5-year anniversary from when I was hired to be president. And I think most people on campus know my wife and I are huge supporters of athletics and our student athletes. But Carol is one of the biggest ambassadors for our student athletes that I've ever known. I cannot count the number of times in the last 5 years, whether it was in the cafeteria, again, with faculty, staff, here in the mansion, over in Iadarola, wherever, and Carol will usually prompt someone and say, "Oh, are you going to the basketball game tonight? Or are you going to some other event, And then she'll pause, and then she'll say, "It really means a lot to the kids for them during warm-up, practice, whatever, to look out and see their faculty or staff mentors there. They notice when we're there, and they notice when she's there. So thank you for that. So our final award this evening is the Cabrini University Parent Award, given to deserving parents or guardians of a current student or alum who live their lives in the Cabrini spirit with purpose. This year's recipients have contributed precious time, talent, and treasures as not only parents, but also as alumni. Tonight we honor Ron and Rosemarie Katkosen, parents of Camelia Katkosen, class of 2020, with the Parent Award. Similarly, what I said about Carol goes for Ron and Rose. I don't think Leisha and I have ever been to, or at least I can't recall, an alumni event, sweethearts dance, other countless events here in the mansion when Ron and Rose were not in attendance during our 5 years that we've been here. And for that, we thank you, both of you. While Camilia's journey to Cabrini started 3 years ago, Ron and Rose were introduced to Cabrini long before that. The two are both proud alums, Ron, class of 1980, and Rose, class of 1984. In their own right, they were active students and become exemplary alumni of Cabrini. Ron attended Cabrini first. He studied English and communication and was involved as editor-in-chief of the Loquitur, president of the sophomore class, campus DJ, a resident assistant and director, and so much more. Then came Rose. She studied biology, was also very involved in community outreach projects, the biology club, campus ministry, and a self-proclaimed cook extraordinaire for House One. I'm going to return to that in a minute. They did not attend Cabrini at the same time, so I'm sure you're wondering, how did they meet? These two actively involved students graduated into successful and dedicated alumni, serving as alumni board members in the late 80s. And as legend has it, Rose was late for a meeting, and there was only one open seat left at the alumni meeting. And that seat was next to Ron. Shortly thereafter, Ron asked Rose on a first date, which happened to be the Cabrini Gala. Eventually, Ron proposed to Rose right here on Cabrini's campus. Today, they are married with 3 wonderful children who are here, Michael, Camelia, and Christina. Their affinity for Cabrini has continued to grow stronger over the years. Ron has been an adjunct instructor in business law since 1993 and is a former trustee of the board. He is the sole practitioner at Katkosen Law Firm in Medford, New Jersey, while Rose has been a loyal employee of McGee Rehabilitation Hospital for 25 years in Center City, Philadelphia, where she currently serves as Vice President for Outpatient Development and Programs. Ron and Rose are leaders in philanthropy at Cabrini. They're annual donors. They care deeply about helping to provide students with a Catholic Cabrinian education. In addition to their annual commitment, they're the facilitators of the endowed Thelma Gardner Arts Scholarship, awarded annually to students in the Fine Arts Department. As Cabrini parents, they're champions for Camelia's accomplishments and activities. When asked about her mom and dad, Camelia says, "My parents always talk about why they love Cabrini. They rave about there are so many opportunities to get involved." Or as Jay-Z likes to say yes to everything. And the small community helps you make great connections and friendships that last a lifeline. The Katkosens regularly attend all of Camelia's Honor Society inductions, as well as Mass when she's singing in the campus ministry choir. And one of Camelia's favorite memories during her first 3 years at Cabrini is of her parents celebrating her birthday by cooking dinner for all the residents in House 3. Back to that cook extraordinaire of Rose. Rose's cooking skills from her resident days have come into play once again. So tonight, Cabrini University is proud to recognize Ron and Rose, who are wonderful alumni, parents, supporters of our fine institution. It gives us great honor to call them forward to receive the 2019 Parent Awards. Ron and Rose.
Emily, where are you going to go? You guys are going to go on the other side.
Ready? Emily, you ready?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you, DT. When I think of the Cabrini University Alumni Association, the first person that comes to mind is Martha Dale. And really, it's thanks to Martha Dale that we're even here tonight, because if it were not for Martha Dale, we would not be standing here. And the reason for that is, following up on what DT said, is the true story of how we met. I had been on the Alumni Association Executive Board for 2 years in 1988, and at that time we had staggered terms. We had the meetings right here in this very room, and we used to have a very long dining room table this way. And at the first meeting, well, it wasn't the first meeting, but the May meeting of 1988, we were packed in like sardines and ready to go. You know, we have the pocket doors there, and we're all sitting here like this. Martha's presiding. Door slides open. It's Rose. First meeting, late. Little did I know that would be a precursor for practically every social function. Our kids are here, ask them, they'll tell you. Anyway, there was not a seat open next to me. Martha, without batting an eye, grabbed a chair and shoehorned Rose right into me, next to me, between me and the fellow who was next to me. And there she sat. Now, back at that time, we had something called the Mansion Gala, which was a formal affair. And I was on the board when it actually started. And the idea was to raise funds for renovating the mansion. But it was a formal, semi-formal type thing. And to try to harken back to the days when the Drexel family and the Dorrance family owned this estate. So 2 weeks after that meeting was the Mansion Gala. So one thing leads to another, and I eventually had the courage to ask Rose if she would go with me to the Mansion Gala. And at that point, I'm going to let Rose take over.
I had a really good reason for being late. I always have a good reason for it. That particular reason was it was a beautiful weekend at the shore. And so that was my reason for being late. And those of you who go to the shore can certainly have an appreciation for that. So there, like Ron said, there was a, the Mansion Gala coming up. He said, if I don't have a trial going on this week, will you, accompany me to the gala? And I said, sure. So I actually went out and bought the dress before I even knew that it was final. And Robin can attest to that. She was my roommate at the time in Drexel Hill. And so that was our first date. We dated for a year. We came back to the same event a year later. And we were actually, Ron proposed on the steps of what used to be Sacred Heart. It's now Founders Hall. Yeah. So that was 29 years ago. And so here we are. I'm really blessed and fortunate that my daughter is here now, along with my other 2 kids. And so a lot's changed here in the last 35 years that I've been here. The logo's changed. This said Cabrini College, do something extraordinary. So various slogans have come and gone. And so I also just would like to pay a special memory to Martha. Is that so we were engaged a year later in '89, and then in 1990 we actually got married on Martha Dale's birthday. So just a wonderful woman, those of you who know her, and so her legacy still lives on. And so some things never change. Martha Dale and Martha Tentacles just are still always there. And so although things have changed over the years, something that's never changed in Cabrini, and that is the heart. Hence the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart, for which is the reason why we're all here. So we're very humbled and honored by this award. Thank you very much.